How's it going, everyone? It is Andre Williams, and over here we talk stocks and we focus on one thing. Always protect your profits. And today we're going to be talking about Lucid, which was down 11.24% on the day. We have been seeing a strong sell-off in the market ever since we had the CPI numbers that came out, and we recently had the FOMC meeting where Jerome Powell said he's going to be going with 75 basis points. So of course, a lot of growth stocks like Lucid have been impacted by this, the whole market overall, but we'll talk about it further. I won't waste any more time. Let's jump into the agenda. If you're new to this channel, I just want to let you know we have timestamps down below inside the description. But if you're a shareholder, you're thinking about taking a position, I highly suggest you watch this full entire video. So the first thing we're going to go over is the technical analysis. We're going to be taking a look at the overall price action. We want to know support. We want to know resistance. We want to know what it looks like in the bearish case scenario and as well as in the bullish case scenario. And then we're going to be going on Fintel, taking a look at the recent short interest information. The reason why this is important, because it does have an impact on the way the stock performs. And then we're going to be taking a look at the order flow distribution. We want to know the buying and the selling behavior on the retail side and as well as on the institutional side. And then when all of that is done, we'll be going into the final thoughts and as well as some more details. So let's get to it. Let's see how it performed on the day. So it ended up closing at $15.55, being down 11.24%. On the low, it tested $15.30, and then on the high, testing $17. When we take a look at the volume stats on the day, you can see we traded at 18.849 million shares, and the average volume over 10 trading days is at 16.095 million shares. So we had above average volume on the day, but you can see we had a pullback in the stock. Now, when we take a look at our chart, which is a daily chart, you can see from the RSI down below, it's at 38.55. And then when we take a look at our moving averages here on the chart, we are below the 200-day, the 50-day, and as well as the 21-day EMA. So it's clear to see that Lucid is in a bear market, trading below all of our major moving averages. So if you guys could see what's going on, we tested that low at 15.30. So going into tomorrow and knowing that Lucid has witnessed some selling pressure on the day, we could possibly break through this level, and seeing if we can hold $15 will be very essential. If we don't hold $15, keep in mind we have the 52-week low at $13.25. I'm not saying that we're going to visit there right away, but I am saying that that is an area you want to keep a very close eye on. Now, if you're looking for a turnaround, you want to see some strength in the play. Since it did see a high at $17, you want the move to go to the 21-day EMA at $18.07. What would this tell us? This can tell that there's a turnaround in the trend. There is some momentum, and that's where you want to see if you can get to the 50-day moving average. Before, when we were talking about it, we said it was near $20, and now it's come down to $18.86. So what does this mean? $19 now becomes a new psychological area for Lucid. So it needs to get to 19 bucks for things to really start turning around, and then of course you want to see what it would do at 20. But as far as for tomorrow, I don't see it going nowhere near that in my personal opinion. But if the selling pressure does end up continuing, don't be shocked if you see it trading in the $14 range. But again, that's where you want to see $15 showing as support. Now let's move on to the short interest information. So we're going to take a look at the recent short interest information for Lucid. So the off-exchange short volume ratio is at 40.47%. And then for the off-exchange short volume, it is just over 2.65 million shares. Scrolling down on the page, the short shares availability is at 0, updated 29 minutes ago. And then for the short borrow fee rate, it is at 12.38%. When we take a look at the history of the short volume, we can see for the close of the 14th, it was at 38.95. And then for the close of the 15th, being at 40.47. So it has gone up a bit, and then taking a look at the short interest percentage of the float being at 22.55%, Lucid does have short squeeze potential. Now let's move on to the order flow distribution. Now let's take a look at the order flow distribution for Lucid. So we see on the inflows at 52.86 million, and then on the outflows at 52.47 million. So we actually had an inflow day. Taking a look at the breakdown, on the large it was 4.10 million, on the medium it was 26.35 million, and then on the small it was 22.41 million. Taking a look at the outflow side, you can see on the large it was 4.77 million, On the medium, it was 29.93 million, and then on the small, it was 17.77 million. Taking a look at the large scale orders in the last 5 days, you can see for today, June the 16th, we had that outflow of 0.68 million. But on the 15th, which was yesterday, we had that inflow of 6.37 million. Analyzing the numbers even further for the small scale orders that tends to represent the retail side, you can see that we had more buying than we had selling. And then when we take a look at what happened on the medium, we had more selling than we had buying. And then when we take a look at the large, it represents whales, institutions, and funds, that's where we had more selling than we had buying. And then when we take a look at the turnover ratio, it was at 1.14%. And this is a consistent range for Lucid. Yes, we did see it in the 0.90% range, but at the same time, this is still fairly low where it's at. We also have to understand that there's a lot of selling pressure in the market, and they did have a catalyst that came out the day before as well. Now, let's move on to the final thoughts, and we'll go over some more details. So for my final thoughts for Lucid when it comes to the price action, so we have the 21-day EMA, which is at $18.07. The high of the day was at $17 and the low of the day was at $15.30. So what does all of this mean? The fact that we had price action below the 21-day EMA, this is a bearish sign, and it could show us that the stock could continue to go on a downtrend, especially since it did close around $15.55. And if you remember what I've said in my previous videos, if Lucid breaks below $16.50, there's a possibility it could start trading in the $14 range. So for all of my investors out there, these are levels you want to keep an eye on, especially since it does have a 52-week low in the high $13 range. But if you're looking for a reversal in this play, it needs to get back to the 21-day EMA, which is at that $18.07. And the fact that it only got to a high of $17, that's where you're going to look for the breakout. So if it could actually make a move back to 17 and they could hold 17, and going into next week, things do look actually good. But again, time will tell us what that's going to be. But another thing you also have to understand, that $19 is now the psychological area for this play. If you remember before, it was at $20, right where we had the 50-day moving average. And now that the price has been on a decline, the 50-day moving average has now moved down to around $18.86. So taking all of that into consideration, $19 is now the area we want to make sure that Lucid can get that break above and then make that move going to $20 and then $22.50. So those are the levels you want to keep an eye on for the upside. As far as for the downside is concerned, like I said, we tested a low at $15.30. So if we break through $15.30, you want to see support hold up at $15. And if it doesn't, that's where we can have Lucid trading in the mid $14 range. And then of course, you want to see where the direction of the market will go. We also have to take into consideration that Tesla had a very strong sell-off today, and this will have an impact on Lucid and as well as for the EV sector. But we also can't ignore the fact the environment that we are in. We are in a high inflationary environment. So when it comes to growth stocks and tech stocks and so on, it is going to be a very tough market to be in. So if you are an investor, you want to take advantage of those dips when they do occur, and doing your homework and you're doing your due diligence and watching my videos and paying attention to certain levels will help you with that. And also as far as for the recent catalyst in regards to them getting a revolving $1 billion in credit, this is something that is really good because we know that they're going to be burning through cash at the end of the day, and they need the money to keep that business flowing. And considering that they want to do this route instead of diluting shareholders this year, I think it's a very good look. But we do know that dilution is on the table for next year. So that's one thing you want to remember. Also, when we went on Fintel, taking a look at the recent short interest information, Lucid does continue to have short squeeze potential. So that is why you want to keep an eye on this play, especially when it does have a catalyst. But at the same time, if you're a long-term investor and you believe in the long-term prospects in regards to where Lucid could go, then seeing it at these particular levels should be of interest to you. But again, don't just go out there and buy it. You want to do your homework. This is very essential here because you don't want to be repeating the same mistakes over and over again. If you've noticed you bought stocks in the past and you never had high conviction and you ended up selling it for a loss,
You don't need to repeat that process. You can change things up. And I just want to make sure I'm being that voice in your head to remind you of that. I want to see you guys being successful inside of the markets. And you just have to understand with the current conditions that we're in, despite all of this fear, there will be a light at the end of the tunnel when we get out of this bear market. This is just temporary. It's just a market cycle. We will get through this. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and I can't wait to see how the stock performs going into tomorrow. We'll talk soon.